Welcome back, everyone, to the Week 10 edition of This Week in CA Football. I'm Bobby Broyles, along with Rob Washburn. Another typical day in the CA last Saturday, Rob, which was highlighted by a pair of upsets over ranked teams as Richmond and Stony Brook were able to pull out victories on the road.
Yeah, if there's one thing we've come to learn about CA football this season, it's to expect the unexpected.
Yep.
We've had a bunch of crazy finishes, but maybe none as wild as Stony Brook's victory last Saturday at Villanova. The Seawolves trailed by 15 with less than 5 minutes to play, but quarterback Tykel Fields passed for one TD, ran for another, and then hit Nick Anderson with a 40-yard strike in the waning seconds to set up a game-winning 22-yard field goal by Nick Courtney as time expired, giving Stony Brook a 36-35 victory. Big plays were the difference as Richmond went on the road and beat Delaware 35-25 for its third straight CAA win. National Special Teams Player of the Week Aaron Dykes tied CAA and FCS records with 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in the first half, and Keaston Fuller caught a pair of 60-yard passes from Joe Mancuso that led to 2 more scores. Elon also earned a CAA road win, scoring 31 second-half points to pull away from Rhode Island 38-13. Greg Leaks Jr. tied his own Elon record with 3 interceptions in a game for the second time this month, and now has an FCS best 7 pickoffs in October. JMU got a dominant performance from its defense to get past Towson 27-10. The Dukes head into the bye week on an 8-game winning streak, including 4 victories over ranked opponents, and they're the lone unbeaten team in CAA play at 5-0. And finally, Maine picked up its first CAA victory of the season by defeating William & Mary 34-25. Freshman quarterback Joe Fagiano threw 2 TD passes, and Keon Whitaker had a big day for the Black Hole defense with 11 tackles, including 4 of them for loss. Now, 8 teams are currently 500 or better in CAA play, and 9 squads have at least 4 overall wins. They're all still hoping for a big run down the stretch to make November a month to remember with a berth in the CAA in the FCS playoffs.
Remembered in November is the theme as we head into the first Saturday of the final month of the regular season. Let's begin in Durham as New Hampshire comes off their bye week to host Villanova, who looks to bounce back after that heartbreaking loss. A 1 o'clock kick on NBC Sports Boston and FlowFootball.com.
Yeah, this game features one of the nation's top defensive teams in New Hampshire against one of the top offensive teams in Villanova. New Hampshire's allowing just 16 points per game and hasn't given up more than 16 points to an opponent since September 21st. Behind a veteran secondary led by Evan Horn and Prince Smith, they've also forced 10 turnovers in the past 4 games. Now, offensively, UNH relies heavily on a rushing attack led by Evan Gray and Carlos Washington, which sets up play-action opportunities for freshman quarterback Max Brosmer. Now, Villanova has suffered 2 straight difficult losses to JMU and Stony Brook and needs to regain the momentum from its 6-0 start. Scoring points hasn't been an issue for Nova, as they've put at least 33 points on the board in 7 of their 8 games. Quarterback Daniel Smith has thrown for 21 touchdowns and run for 6 more, and he's developed a pair of big play targets to Changa Hodge and Jaron Hayek, who both have 6 TD catches. On the ground, freshman D. Will Barley rushed for a career-high 131 yards against Stony Brook. Now, the Wildcats' defense has given up over 30 points in the past 2 games, but they continue to get strong play from linebackers Forrest Ryan and Drew Wiley, who have combined for 21 tackles for loss.
At 2 o'clock on FlowFootball.com, it is a rivalry matchup as Towson hosts Delaware. These 2 programs have had some thrilling finishes as of late, with playoff implications on the line in this one, Rob.
Yeah, you know, what makes a great rivalry is when both teams are able to win games and the games are competitive.
Yep.
Towson and Delaware have split the past 8 meetings, and 6 of them have been decided by a touchdown or less, so you can check both of those boxes. Towson led JMU 10-7 late in the second quarter last Saturday, but the Dukes scored 17 points in the final 5 minutes of the half to take control of that game. The most encouraging part of the loss was the play of the Tigers' defense, which held JMU's high-powered attack to just 3 points in the second half. Offensively, Tom Flacco threw for 210 yards and a touchdown at JMU and went over 5,000 passing yards for his career in less than 2 seasons. The Tigers also got a solid effort on the ground from Mehdi Thanrat with 65 yards on only 8 carries. Now, as we mentioned in the open, Delaware was unable to overcome a number of big plays in a 35-25 loss to Richmond last week. The Blue Hens' offense has averaged over 175 yards rushing over the past 2 weeks, and much of that success can be attributed to the play of Will Knight, who has topped the 100-yard mark in back-to-back contests and is averaging 7.8 yards per carry for the season. Defensively, Delaware was unable to create the pressure up front against Richmond that was so successful in their previous win over New Hampshire. Kedrick Whitehead was a bright spot with 12 tackles and an interception, which was his 4th game this season with double-digit stops. Now, both of these teams come into the game with 4-4 records and could really use a win if they want to achieve their goal of making a return trip to the playoffs.
At 2 o'clock on FlowFootball.com, Elon will be at home to take on William & Mary. The Phoenix have been impressive in back-to-back blowout victories, which is rare in this league, Rob.
Yeah, the key to Elon's success over that past 2 games has been his performance in the second half, where the Phoenix has scored 66 points to blow open contests that were close at halftime. Now, while Davis Cheek provides a steady presence guiding the offense, the key has been the resurgence of the Elon rushing attack, which has averaged 186 yards in that 2-game stretch. Deshaun McNair picked up a team-high 85 yards on 17 carries at Rhode Island, and reserve quarterback Joey Boffman broke the game open last Saturday with a 67-yard touchdown run out of that Wildcat package. Now, defensively, Elon is allowing just 305 yards over the past 3 games and only 10 points over the past 2. Leading that charge has been defensive back Greg Leaks Jr. with his FCS leading 7 interceptions in the month of October. Now, William & Mary is 0-4 in CAA play, but 3 of those losses have been by 9 points or less and have come down to the fourth quarter. Hollis Mathis returned at quarterback last week and ran for 3 touchdowns against Maine. He wasn't the only threat, as the Tribe piled up 226 yards on the ground, including a team-best 73 on 13 carries by Owen Wright. Now, giving up big plays hurt the Tribe defensively last week as Maine connected on a pair of 60-yard scoring passes. Defensive lineman Will Keeley was a bright spot for the Tribe with 8 tackles and 4 tackles for loss, which was the most by a William & Mary player since 2014.
At 3 o'clock on FlowFootball.com and NBC Sports Washington Plus, Richmond hosts Stony Brook. And as we mentioned earlier, Rob, both these teams coming off huge road victories last Saturday.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine teams coming in with any more momentum than these two after impressive road victories over nationally ranked opponents. Richmond's won 3 straight CAA games for the first time since 2016 and is looking to close within a game of first-place JMU. Quarterback Joe Mancuso turned in one of his best performances of his career at Delaware, passing for a season-high 280 yards and a touchdown and running for a team-best 95 yards and 2 scores. Keaston Fuller has become one of the CAA's top big play receivers, making 8 catches for 161 yards and a touchdown last week, which was his 3rd game with more than 100 yards this season. Now, the Spiders' defense continues to be solid and has held every FCS opponent under 400 yards this season. Richmond's doing a great job of putting pressure on the opposing quarterback with 19 sacks over the past 4 games. Now, Stony Brook rallied from a 28-10 deficit at Villanova to end a 2-game CAA losing streak last week. Quarterback Tycall Fields continued his outstanding season, throwing for a career-high 320 yards while also running for 2 scores. Nick Anderson made 8 receptions for 137 yards at Villanova and has 368 receiving yards over the past 3 games. The Seawolves can also hurt you on the ground, with Tyson Lawton having topped the 100-yard mark in his last 3 outings. Now, after giving up some big plays early, Stony Brook's defense played better in the second half at Villanova, giving up just 7 points. Sincere Malone was the leader of that group with 10 tackles, including 2 for loss. And the Seawolves have won the past 3 meetings with Richmond and would enhance their playoff chances if they can add to that streak.
At 3:30 on FlowFootball.com, Albany comes off the bye week to take on Maine. The Great Danes sitting in the group tied for 2nd place currently in the standings.
Yeah, Albany has been one of the surprise stories in the CAA, getting off to a 3-1 start in league play after being picked to finish the bottom of the preseason poll. The Great Danes are averaging better than 33 points per game with a balanced offensive attack. Quarterback Jeff Undercuffler is among the leaders in FCS with 24 touchdown passes, and wideouts Juwan Green and Jerry Reeves both rank among the top 20 nationally in receiving, having combined for 99 catches, nearly 1,400 yards, and 14 touchdowns. On the ground, Carl Mofor has topped the 100-yard mark in 5 of his last 7 contests. With all of the attention on the offense, it's easy to overlook a Albany defense that's given up just 23 points per game. Eli Mentor is among CAA leaders with 14.5 tackles for loss and 8.5 sacks, and the Great Danes lead the league with 19 forced turnovers. Now, Maine ended a 3-game slide with a 34-25 win over William & Mary last week, and he's using a one-game-at-a-time approach to try to climb back up the league standings. Freshman quarterback Joe Fagiano has thrown for nearly 700 yards and 7 TDs over the past 2 games, and his top targets, Jaquan Blair and Ernest Edwards, have teamed for over 400 receiving yards and 7 TDs in the last 2 games. The Black Hole defense held William & Mary to just 68 yards on 4 of 22 passing last week. Much of that can be attributed to the pressure put on by Keon Whitaker, who filled the stat sheet with 11 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery.
And we wrap up with the lone non-conference game of the week as Rhode Island hosts Merrimack College at 1 o'clock on FlowFootball.com.
Yeah, after a season full of gut-wrenching losses, Rhode Island will try to bounce back from last week's 38-13 loss to Elon as they host non-conference foe Merrimack. Quarterback Vito Priori threw for over 200 yards for the 8th consecutive game against the Phoenix, but he didn't have a TD pass for the first time all year and was picked off 3 times. As always, the Rams will try to get the ball in the hands of its talented receiving group of Aaron Parker, Isaiah Coulter, and Amir Dorsey, especially against the Merrimack defense that's giving up 200 yards per game through the air. Now, Merrimack is 4-4 overall and has won its past 2 games. They also like to move the ball through the air behind quarterback Christian Carter, who has passed for over 1,700 yards and 13 touchdowns, and his top receiver Marquis Spence, who has 63 receptions for 657 yards and 7 touchdowns.
As always, folks, casports.com/live scores is your source for live scoring and in-game live stats throughout Week 10 of the college football season.
Yeah, and of course, you can continue to follow the league on our many social media platforms, such as Facebook.com/CA Football and Twitter @CA Football using the hashtag CAFB.
Our on-campus crew will be back on the road this weekend at Richmond. You can keep up with their trip by following CA Football's social media outlets. Make sure to visit cafootball.com next Thursday for our Going Deep feature on the Spiders. That is it from us today. Enjoy the games, everyone.